Hello, welcome to my channel and welcome to my website. My name is Daryl and this is Programming in Any Language. The website is www.black-duck.com. It's where you'll find all my videos organized in logical order. You can begin with the basics and then move on to the advanced concepts. You can also start with a speed track and build an application from scratch, which should pique your curiosity with a desire to learn more. Okay, passing arguments by reference. This is the one that really confused me back in the day. I'm much better now. This one makes sense to me now, but it was the hardest to grasp at first. Well, what is it? Up to now, we've been passing values to the method. Those original values in the calling part of the program were never changed. What if we wanted to do that? In fact, why would we do that? Let's see if we can make some sense of this. Let's suppose we have a routine that's a list of phone numbers from a disk file, reading something in. And suppose those phone numbers were not formatted the same. Some might have a parenthesis around the area code. Some might separate the area code with a dash. And others might separate the area code with a dot. I've seen that format already too. Sometimes even just get the numbers straight with nothing in between them. All we know is we are reading 10 digits from a file with a bunch of stuff we may not need. By using a method that has given access to our memory location of our variable, rather than the value of the variable, our method could make the change to the value right in the calling program. That's a mouthful. The calling program could then write each formatted piece of data to a new disk file, thus giving us a list of phone numbers, all with the same formatting. Enter passing arguments by reference. Typically, these are void methods. They don't need to return any values because they are messing with the actual original value. This is another take that is better seen than explained, as you can tell. So let's take a look at this video. Okay, we're looking at passing arguments by reference. This is different than what we've been doing before. And as you can see, we got a reference parameter. It's a special type of parameter that does not receive a copy of the argument's value. In other words, you don't get the value. Instead, you get the keys to where this value lives, where it is in memory. It becomes a reference to the argument that was passed to it. When an argument is passed by reference to a method, the method can change the value of the argument in the calling part of the program. Whoa, okay, so the part that's calling it, it's got a value sitting inside the variable. And you send it to the method. You're not actually sending it, you're sending the keys to it. Or you're giving permission for the method to change the value of the data inside the variable that you're dealing with. Whoa, okay, we got to really see this. When an argument is passed by reference to a method, the method can change the value of the argument in the calling part of the program. In C#, you declare a reference parameter by writing the word ref keyword in front of the variable, as you see down right here below. We got a private void. Notice the void method set to 0, reference int number. In other words, we have a reference to an integer called number, and then we set the number is going to be equal to 0. So whatever we got passed to us is going to get changed to 0. So whatever the thing is, it'll get changed by this particular method that we're actually looking at. So to call a method that has a reference parameter, you also use the reference keyword before the argument. So in the calling part of the program, you got int my value right here equals 99. You're going to set to 0 reference my var. So if you look at the last one, the last screen we just saw, you'd be taking an integer called my var. You'd have 99 established inside it. You're going to call the set to 0, and you're going to pass by reference my var. In other words, you're giving the calling program, or the method, permission to access the location of the data that's in this memory portion. Let's look at retail calculator 4 and understand how this all works. Again, the same program. We've got the get markup price, all that kind of stuff's here. We're checking for errors if we come back, blah, blah, blah. We finally get to the calculate retail and we do the thing where we go out and actually do the processing over here in the method and then return the value. Return the value, well, not necessarily this time. What's going to happen is we have no global variables. We have wholesale cost, markup percent, and double retail price sitting in the calling part of the program. We have three variables in the method. The DBL WC, which is wholesale cost, DBL MP, which is markup percent, and DBL RP, which is retail price. That's all. But the difference is, as you can see right here, we're taking W wholesale cost, W markup percent, W retail price by reference and sending them to this particular routine. This method is then going to accept all three variables, including the double retail price, but it's going to accept the retail price by reference. In other words, it has the location of where it actually is. It'll do its calculation, and whatever it comes up with is going to get automatically changed in the calling program. So let's take a look and see how this happens, how this works out by looking at code. Here's our wholesale price calculator retail price calculator that we used last time when we did the passing of arguments back. But we did the returning a method. In this case, we're going to look at the code here and see what we've got. I'll jump in here, and you'll see that everything is the same. We haven't done any. In fact, we'll take out the breakpoint. We don't need that. We looked at that last time. We'll take it in. What we're going to do here is we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of having this double retail price here, we're going to actually establish it. So we're going to make it part of our routine up here. We're going to add it up here. We're going to, in fact, if I have it, I can cheat here and save myself some time by grabbing this guy, doing a Control-C, and coming down here and putting it into this calling part. There's our double retail price. Let's give it a little space so we got some room here. Now we have an error here, of course, because this is wrong. Well, we're going to actually take this out, and we're going to simply calculate retail. So we're going to basically back up on this thing and just put the method in, and we're going to calculate retail price. Now we're only passing two parameters, and notice we have an error in double retail price here because nothing's happened here. We want to add that to this thing, so we're going to pass three parameters. We're going to pass W wholesale cost, double markup percent, and we're going to pass, put a comment here, we're going to pass by reference, put a ref in here, the DBL retail price. And we've got errors here because the calling program doesn't expect this just yet. We have to adjust that. So we've got it here. So we're passing the three values. We're calling the calculate retail routine. We're passing the wholesale cost as we did before, the markup percent as we did before, and the double retail price is being passed by a reference. Let's go down to that calling program now. And here it is. Calculate. We're looking at the routine now. It's got the double wholesale cost and the markup percent is here. We now need to bring in that third variable. So we're going to say comma, and we're going to say reference double DBLRP. We're also going to change this to void because we're not going to return anything. And we're going to change our return to just return. And DBLRP is sitting over here. We don't need to set this up anymore because we're bringing it in here. So this DBLRP is coming in as a reference variable. So we're establishing it here as a double. So we don't need this line of code anymore at all. So we just bump that thing off and dump the comment too. And there we go. Now we're set. This is looking like it's going to work. Let's go back up here. We still have a DBL retail price error here. Why do we have that? Because the retail price needs to be set up as a 0. We need to actually put a value in here to make this happen. So we need in other words, we established a variable up here, but we didn't put an amount in it. And when you do something by reference, it needs to see a value in there already. In other words, it's already established, so that it's filled that piece in memory. So by simply saying equals 0 here, we've established a value. And now retail price can be sent. So we're actually sending a 0 over, or we're sending really the reference to a variable which has a 0 in it. And our method down here is now going to replace that. So let's see how this works. We'll do a file save. We'll do a start. We're going to compiles and comes up. And we'll use our 100 again. Our 5. And calculate retail. 105. Again, no difference to the user. They're seeing the same program no matter what. But we've changed the innards, basically, of how this actually works. Let's take a look at it by looking at the our breakpoint. We'll set something up here. So we'll run this program again. And we'll start it up and go through our breakpoint. And we'll bring up our watch. We'll put in our 100. We'll put in our 5. And we'll put in our, we'll say calculate retail. Here it comes up. Let's go ahead and look at our watch. So here's our watch list. It's sitting up here. We have the 3 variables in the method are errors right now because we're not in there. And we have the 3 values that we're looking at in our program all equal to 0. We're sitting up right here in our breakpoints. I'm going to press F11 and it's going to jump down and start to process these. It brings in the 100. It brings in the 5 and it checks to see if they're both greater than 0, and they are. So it jumps down to the calculate button. And now, as you can see here, we've got wholesale cost, markup percent, and retail price about to be sent to the calculate retail method down here. And you can see we get 0, 105. Nothing's in retail price, just a 0. We'll hit F11. It goes down to that particular thing and passes all those variables to it. So WC now is 100, MP is 5, and RP is 0. So RP, DL, BBL, RP is now going to get calculated by jumping down here and doing this processing. It does it, and 105 is sitting here in the value. So we're going to return, which is going to actually return this value into our retail price. Hit enter here, pop up, and notice it pops right up into the retail price. So now we have this value in here. We can even highlight over the top of it, and you can see 105 is now in there. So it actually changed the amount that's in this variable in the calling program. Very different than what we did before. We now go down through it, and we actually print it, and we're ready to go. And up comes our program. And bang, 105. It worked just fine. Okay, that's one way of doing it. It might make more sense now. We actually saw data changed in the original calling program. But it's not the only way. Here's another twist on this concept. Take a look at this. Okay, let's look at another variant of the reference variables. You'll notice the last time we did this, we had to establish the variable with a value. We need to set it to 0 so it had something in it. You don't need to do that if you use this method for working with by reference, using output parameters. An output parameter works like a reference parameter with the following difference. The argument does not have to be a value before it is passed into the output parameter. That eliminates that equals 0 thing. A method that has an output parameter must set the output parameter to some value before it finishes executing. So it's got to do something. You got to actually put something in there. So in C, you declare an output parameter by writing the word out, writing the out keyword before the parameter variable's data type. Like this, private void set to 0 out int number. This is that same program we used before. We're using it like this, except we're using the word out here, and we're applying it to 0. Now, to call a method that has an output parameter, you also use the keyword out before the argument. Int myvar. Notice there's nothing being assigned to this. We have no 99 here whatsoever. It just simply is myvar. And it's an integer. Set to 0 out myvar, and it will be set to 0 by calling this program set to 0. Let's look at it with our retail price calculator 5. Very slight difference to what we did with before. Instead of REF, we're basically just going to be using out to make this all happen, and we're not going to apply 0 to that initial variable. So everything's the same here. The calculates here. We have our stuff going over here. We do have the out parameter in here and in here. No global variables. We've got a retail price, which is going to have the word out in it. We have the methods, which have the 3 variables in here. And we can simply look at the code and do this way. And here's our program. This is the same program we used before. We're going to make that slight difference now. We're not going to do much here at all. We're simply going to go down here. We're going to take our breakpoint out because we want to run it first without it. We're going to get rid of that 0 piece in here again and just leave it as equals 0. It gives us an error here. That's okay. We're not going to worry too much about this at this time. What we are going to do is go down to the method Oh, we're going to change this word to out. We'll change that to out. Now we'll go down. We still have an error. We'll go down to the method and change this to out. And errors are gone. That's all the changes we made to this thing. Do a file save on it. That's good. There it is. It's coming up right now. There it is. We'll put our 100 in there. We'll put in our 5. To our calculate retail 105. Again, this is the 5th time we've run this program in a different format. The user sees no difference whatsoever. We see 105. Let's use the debugger and take a look at this program. Set our breakpoint right here again, once again, and we'll do a start. I would like to bring up my watch list. Put in our 100, put in our 5, hit calculate retail. Bring up our watch list, and once again, the calling the method is showing us errors in those variables because they have not been used yet. The other ones are just fine. They have 0, 100, and 0. We've already gotten the 100 coming in here. We'll press F11 and get the 5 in here. Once we check that, there it is. Now the 5's in here. And we'll go ahead and look at our, jump down to where we're going to actually calculate retail. And our calculate retail is going to call the method. It's going to pass all 3 things. This time we're passing output the double retail price. And it does have a 0 in it at this point in time. It's showing us a 0. We'll jump down to the routine. It pops in. We have the 100, the 5, and the 0. And now we can actually run this thing. It calculates the 105. It returns, comes back to the calling program, and our 105 is sitting in the retail price. It actually changed just like the reference one did, except we didn't have to establish the 0. And we end up displaying it on the screen, get through our checks, and the program comes up and it's done 105. Again, no difference to the user. So you can use reference or you can use out when you are giving access to the variable in the calling program. Which one you prefer to use is up to you. If you're not going to be assigning any variables to it, you want to just do that later, use the out. If you want to set 0 to that variable right away, then go ahead and use the reference. Either one, it works just fine, works the same. They're almost identical, really, when you get right down to it. So it's a matter of preference of which one you actually want to use. That's it. Ref or out, both will work for you. Which one should you use? It's really up to you. And that pretty much covers methods. We'll use them a lot in the coming videos. And you'll probably see mostly void methods that don't return values, but as the need arises, we'll see the others as well. Let's try an application or two next, and then we'll take a look at arrays. But for now, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to use the website for easy access to all my videos, and if you get a chance, please subscribe. That way, you'll be notified when something new is available. We'll see you in that next video. Take care.